Hey everybody, I decided to make this video because I saw The Last Jedi and I was very disappointed. Um, and to be honest with you, um, I don't like The Force Awakens either. I don't like the direction that J.J. Abrams has taken this, trilogy, and Ryan Johnson. They've both done a terrible job, and Disney's done a terrible job managing this entire this entire project. Um, so I want to go ahead and give my reasons to spoiler alerts, just to let you know. Um, but I had to make this video to speak my mind. I usually don't even make these videos. I don't even do YouTube videos, but I'm just like so upset about what the outcome is. I just felt like I had to speak it out. Um, but it's just like this just they I think they've lost what made Star Wars what it was. They don't realize that Star Wars could have been a huge hit or miss blockbuster. It could have been a terrible movie. It could have easily been a terrible movie, but it wasn't, and it took a lot of work. And George Lucas knew that. It took a lot of work to get it to where it was. He treated Star Wars like it was his child. You know, and when he originally created Star Wars, he created a longer script than usual. He had some of the prequels in there, um, but he had to condense it down. He realized he had to make each movie almost their own independent movie. Um, there wasn't as many intentional plot holes as The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi has. Um, but it was his own movie. It was clear. One of the things that he based Star Wars off of is based off of some of the old, serials. It's based off of good versus evil. Um, um, it's very clear in the film with the text crawls that the rebels were fighting for their freedom and what they were trying to do to get that, by stealing the Death Star plans. Um, and one of the things that made it pretty clear, first of all, the Empire in itself relates to a lot of evil in the past, historically, and so we know we can kind of relate to why the rebels was fighting for, because they had an emperor that with absolute power trying to take over the galaxy. Um, Early in the movie, they made it very clear by doing mass genocide on Alderaan that they were pretty pure evil. Um, he didn't really threaten us with plot holes. George Lucas didn't threaten us with plot holes, and at least not intentional plot holes. Well, I think one of the biggest plot holes that came out of A New Hope was who was Luke Skywalker's father. We got a very brief explanation of that, and how did the Empire get into power? Um, the Jedi, the Jedi, the Force was explained to us briefly, but we could see early in the movie how Obi-Wan was trying to teach Luke Skywalker how to use it, what the Force was all about. We got to see a little bit of saber fights. We kind of got an understanding of what the Force was. And compared to these new ones, they intentionally put subplots in the movie to try to make us come back for more, to sell tickets, to sell toys. Um, there's a lot of marketing strategy in these new movies that I just didn't like. I didn't like when I came out watching Force Awakens, that I was coming out watching this movie with having no clue what half of these characters was and what they were doing. Um, but I mean, one thing I just didn't like about The Last Jedi was the reason why Luke went into exile. Um, it's very stupid. The difference between when Yoda, well, the difference between when Yoda and Obi-Wan went in exile is a lot different than why Luke went in exile. You gotta remember that in the prequels, first of all, in the prequels, it goes into more in-depth explanation on why Palpatine got into power. He had to use his political gangs to get to where he was at. He was elected. It got to the point where he was, he had some pretty good powers. He was able to foresee the short future, and that was a way that he was able to make the right decisions. He was able to manipulate people into creating a false threat to the Republic to get people to trust him more. And then he originally gave himself temporary powers, and not until Anakin came along, and when Palpatine was trying to kind of seduce him to the dark side, and he kind of openly admitted that he was a Sith. He went to Mace Windu and told Mace Windu, "Hey, here we have a Sith in our hands, and we got to do something about it." And then when Mace Windu threatened him, Palpatine said, if you, or he didn't threaten him, but he tried to arrest him, and Palpatine was like, "Hey, if you arrest me, that would be an act of treason." And then Mace Windu gave his reasons that you're not the Emperor yet, so we have every right to take you in. He ends up taking out half of Mace Windu's crew. Thanks to Anakin seducing, or thanks to Palpatine seducing Anakin, he was able to prevent. Anakin was able to prevent Mace Windu into killing. He was able to prevent Anakin into helping him kill Mace Windu. One of the things that Mace Windu said was, "Hey, he's too dangerous to be left alive," because he knew if he became Emperor, then the first thing he would do is destroy the Jedi Order. He would hunt down all the Jedis. He would kill them all. And there would be nothing that the Jedis could do, because it would then be an act of treason. So when he did kill Mace Windu, and and Obi-Wan and Yoda found out about that, there was nothing that Obi-Wan and Yoda could have did at that point in time. There was absolutely nothing. If they if they somehow came back, miraculously killed Vader, would soon be Vader, and then they went and killed Palpatine, then that would have been an act of treason from the Jedi Order to the Empire that was elected there by the Republic. They would have been politically scrutinized, because that's what the Republic wanted. So when Luke goes into exile, the Republic is still there. The Republic is still there. Say if somehow Luke were to decided he wanted to go back and hunt down Kylo Ren and Snoke, he could have done it, and he could have killed them, and there would have been no consequences because of that. Because technically, the First Order is a terrorist compared to the Republic and the Resistance. So the reason why he went into exile is completely different from the reasons why Yoda and Obi-Wan went into exile. And for the fact that he cowered away from his apprentice, his Padawan, it just kind of makes you like question who Luke Skywalker is. He was in the Empire Strikes Back. He left his training to go save his friends. He was a little bit selfless. He was willing to sacrifice himself to go help the people that he loved. But now he's like the complete opposite of that. That doesn't sound like Luke, and I can understand why Mark Hamill felt like that just didn't feel like the Luke that he knew and he played. And just for the fact that he cowered away from his apprentice, that just pisses me off. The movie just takes a direction that I just did not like. That's the reason why I like the prequels. I like the prequels because, you know, the sequels, or the original sequels, was good versus evil. It was black and white. There was hardly no plot holes. The what you call it, the climax was in Empire Strikes Back. Everything that you need to know was in Empire Strikes Back. And so when Return of the Jedi came, the only thing you was thinking about was who's going to live, how is Luke going to confront his father, and how are we going to stop the Empire? That was it. You know, that was the big showdown of a movie. This movie, the last Jedi, only leaves you with more questions. And where the hell it's going? It seems like you're going to at least need 2 or 3 more movies to explain what has been going on in his universe. So, I mean, that might explain. Maybe episode what is it, 9? Well, maybe episode 9 isn't going to be a conclusion movie. I don't know, because there's going to be plenty of more. So maybe this is supposed to be setting up for another 6 with the same characters. I have no idea, but right now it's doing pretty bad, and I think that if you're going to progress the movie, it should be in a trilogy, not in a 6 movie sequence. That's just way too long to be. It's way too long to be trying to figure out what's going on in a series of movies. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't like how they treated Obi-Wan, or I don't like how they treated Luke Skywalker in this. I wanted to see him actually in action doing something. You know, I waited a very long time. I know the movie isn't about him, but in the prequels, the movie wasn't about Yoda. It was about Anakin. But you was still able to see Yoda in action and doing something. You know what I'm saying? You can kill off Luke all you want, but I want to see him go out in style. So they did a very injustice thing that they did to Luke Skywalker and how they portrayed him in this movie. And I just didn't like the fact that he tried to kill Kylo Ren. You know what I'm saying? When Yoda was sensing, conflict and confusion in Anakin, he didn't think about, I'm gonna try to kill him in his sleep. He confronted him. He actually talked to him about it, and it was pretty unclear with how Luke confronted, what was confronting Kylo with his confusion and conflict. It seems like there should have been some kind of diplomacy or some type of something that would allow him to try to reach out to Kylo to try to get him to not lose focus of who he was. And the reason why I just don't like any of this in the first place is because, first of all, in the Star Wars galaxy, there's millions and millions and millions of Force sensitive people everywhere. They might be hard to find, but you'll find them. One of the reasons why it was really hard to train, you couldn't train Jedi's during the original trilogy, is because Emperor Palpatine was going around killing everybody. He was killing anybody who had anything that's close to Force sensitivity. There's no way you could have been around, could have trained a Jedi during those times, because you were being hunted. You was being hunted by Darth Vader, and that was one of the usefulness of having Darth Vader around, is to take care of those Force sensitive individuals. Um, um, so it doesn't matter. Like, we gotta get this straight. Like, for being force sensitive is not a hereditary gene. Um, you can be born in a regular family and have force sensitivity. It's like X-Men. It's like being born a mutant. Some people are born a mutant, some people aren't in a non-mutant family. The sensitivity is everywhere. And for the fact that when we got into the Force Awakening and we didn't see a large Jedi Academy, that's what really disappointed me. Is for the fact that uh, that Luke Skywalker did not have a strong academy, and for the fact that, one of the things that make the Jedi Order, one of the things we learned about the Jedi Order in the originals, is they were the keepers of the peace, as Mace Windu used to say. They were they were the knights of the Republic, and they served the Republic because they believed in democracy. And George Lucas made that pretty clear, that the Jedi Order believed in a democracy. And for the fact that Luke was not training his people to help restore, or was not training his students to help restore the Republic and the Resistance, I think it's just stupid. So, I mean, I don't know how it never even explained how many students um, um, Luke Skywalker had, but I highly doubt that Kylo Ren would have been able to take out all of them all by himself. I just highly doubt that. You know what I'm saying? There's no way that he could have done that. I honestly think if Vader did not have, Vader did not have the clone army behind him to assist him in helping to track down the Jedi's, I honestly think that Vader wouldn't have had any chance to go and kill every Jedi there was out there. So there's no way Kylo was able to kill everybody in Luke's um, 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 in his academy. And I don't know if they joined him or left with him. I don't know what happened with that, but I think it was stupid. That's the reason why I didn't like Force Awakening. Um, I mean, if that being said, if there was any way that I personally could could have done this differently, or at least what I expected from these new sequels, was I was expecting to see a lot more Jedi's. To be honest with you, I was expecting to see Luke with an academy. I think now that I've seen these movies, I think a good approach to the movie would have had it where Kylo Ren was in the academy, and there was probably 100 Jedi's. Maybe not that many, but quite a bit. And just having it where and telling the story of his confliction with the light and dark side, having a subplot with Leia fighting the First Order, in the background, and not understanding who is the leader behind this new threat, and having it where Snoke is controlling it all and somehow trying to uh, trying to seduce Kylo to join him. I think I think that the majority of the movie would have been based off of that. I think what would have been great would have had Rey already in the academy as too, maybe as Kylo's friend. You know what I'm saying? They that would have been a way to really build a relationship with the two. Is have it where they were both, maybe Rey could have easily been a she could have easily been some came from a nobody family and not have a family and still somehow get picked up and recruited to by Luke Skywalker to join his new Jedi Order, and having it where somehow their friendship is torn apart when Ben decides to split, and have it where he does destroy the Academy, and have it where he does destroy the Academy, but he takes it would be like almost like a biblical thing, like Lucifer falling from the sky and taking demons with him. I would have had it where you would take Kylo would have been like the Lucifer, like getting his dark Jedi's to join him and join the First Order, and Snoke. And then it probably would have ended on that type of note. But by the second movie, it would have been Jedi versus Dark Jedi. There would have been Jedi fighting, and it would have been, what I'm saying, it would almost been like X-Men, like Professor X is Luke Skywalker, and Snoke is Magneto, and then you got your student fighters who are fighting with the Resistance and the Republic, trying to be keepers of the peace, like a Jedi is supposed to be, and like it's supposed to, like the prequels told you how it was supposed to be, and then having, the Dark Jedi is fighting with the First Order, and just having it where it's a survival of the fittest, between the two, and having it where Rey is a character, maybe still have Finn, be a traitor to the First Order and switch sides to the Resistance, but there would have been Jedi's, and it doesn't make any sense that they would have made this movie so long, because there's millions and millions of Force sensitive people out there. You know what I'm saying? It isn't like this rare disease. It's millions of people out there that are Force sensitive. And, it was easy. It was one of the, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon was able to easily spot out Anakin, because they found out that there was this kid that was exceptionally good at pod racing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to learn Jedi. You don't have to learn the Jedi ways to get certain Jedi traits. Like, Jedi instincts is a natural trait. That was like one of the first things that Luke Skywalker learned when he was on the Millennium Falcon, and he did pretty well. It's Jedi instincts is something that is a natural instinct. It's a basic instinct that comes with being a Jedi. You don't really have to train to do that. And even in the legacies, there was lots of books that talked about how there was tribes, Force sensitive tribes, that had their own little, views on how the Force was and how it was supposed to be used, because the thing that makes the Jedi and the Sith so uniquely different is because they're the oldest organization in the galaxy. They're the oldest. They are the most well known. They're the most well academic, of all groups and organizations of Force sensitive people. That's the only difference, and that's why the archives was the Sith and Jedi archives are so precious, because they're the oldest texts in the galaxy. They're ancient, and it's like going to Harvard to be a Force sensitive user. You know what I'm saying? They're like the top of the top line, And so it just makes it just bothers me why these movies they're making it seem like Kylo Ren and you know and Rey are like the only force sensitive people in the galaxy right now. And and it doesn't make any sense if Luke spent that long trying to build his academy, and the only thing he got out of it was being destroying it. It just doesn't make any damn sense. So that's just my take on the whole thing. Honestly, I think that the Last Jedi just did it. The whole thing is just it's destroyed. So I felt like I had to do that because I just had a rant. It was nothing but a rant, but that's just my opinion. Y'all can just let me know how y'all feel. All right.